Hey guys, it's me, Alex. Sorry that my voice sounds really weird. I have been feeling a little under the weather, as you know from that post that I made. I have been feeling a lot better, and I'm excited to bring more videos to you guys. And it looks like the poll is, or the yes is winning for the Sally face ASMRs. So that you guys know, I am going to be doing a Sal Fisher one because a lot of people have been asking for Sal Fisher. But if you guys want me to do Todd, or not Todd, Larry or Ash, or even if some of you guys want me to do Todd, I'll do Todd. But yeah, just let me know and I will bring it to you guys. Anyways, let's get on. A Carl X listener part 6. Let's get into it. So, it's been a few days. You've kept going to the basement where you have May locked up, and you're feeding her and stuff. And you're lucky that Rick doesn't go into the basement, or else, you'd probably be screwed. The only people that knew about her in the basement was you and Carl. And Carl's been keeping really good with keeping his mouth shut about it. And one day, he bumped into you and asked you a question. Oh, listener, hey, do you think I could ask you a question? Yeah, has Ron been acting different to you? I don't know, it's just ever since my dad said that he'd teach him how to handle a gun, I feel like he's been planning something. Yeah, someone told me that he went into the armory the other day. Or I think it was earlier today. Fuck. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, will you help me keep an eye on him? Thanks, sister. So you got your cast off? Yeah. Well, I'm glad it healed up fast. Say, my house? We'll read the next comic? Alright. So you nodded your head and smiled at him when he said that, and he walked off, into another direction, probably to go get something. And you continued to walk over to the infirmary since you wanted to get your ankle checked out because it started to hurt a bit again. So you went down there, and the lady there, I forgot her name. I know she has a name, but that lady is there, and she checked you up, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're fine, don't worry." You're like, "Oh, great, 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 great." And you start to walk over to Carl's house because, well, he invited you to read the next part of the comic. And you see Ron walking towards Carl's house. Or not walking towards Carl's house, walking behind Carl, and you see him reach behind his back. So you kind of get scared, and you run up to Carl, and you're hey, let's go quickly, come on, I can't wait to read this. And Ron kind of backs off, and Carl's oh yeah, let's go, come on. So you guys get to his house, and you lead him up to his room, and you sit down on the bed, and he's I've never seen you this eager to read a book. What's going on? And you're oh, well, I just left on a big cliffhanger last time. I just really want to read it. So you sat in his room with him for about an hour reading the rest of the comic. It was a really long one. That's why it was an hour. Yeah. But you guys finished, and you were wow, I really enjoyed that. It was really good. The end was surprising, though. And he was yeah, I can't believe they both died at the end. And you both kind of just, look at each other, and you realize that he had his hat on again. You don't remember him, wearing the hat. So you smirk at him, And you're like, oh, you're wearing your hat again. And he's like, oh, yeah, I was gonna get used to wearing it again. And you kind of smiled at him, and you took like the brim of the hat and you pulled it down to cover his eyes. You're like, it looks good on you, dumbass. And you walked out of the room. Well, more ran out of the room because he was chasing you, and he ended up grabbing you around the waist and tackled you onto the couch. I'm the asshole. You're the asshole. What the fuck, listener? Don't give me that look. Hmm? Oh, my dad? Actually, I haven't seen him today. No, mister, I don't think he's in the basement. Listener, don't go. Check. At least wait for me. So, you walk down there only to be greeted by your sister, who was still tied up and sitting on the ground. And you notice that the plate of food in front of her was not eaten. Her hands were tied in front of her, so she was still able to eat, but she just like refused to. Like she was being stubborn, and you're like, you can't stand here and not eat and starve yourself to death. Like if you try doing that, I will force feed you. And she's like, you can't make me. You tried doing that when I was younger. And look, you can't even force feed me now. And you kind of got mad at her. And she kept saying things to you, like, I'm surprised, like, you lasted this long, like, shit like that. And, like, making fun of you, and, like, saying all this shit. Like, God, you really are, like, a pussy like you were when we were little. Like, I'm your younger sister, and I can do a lot more than you fucking can. Like, I survived out there on my own. When I found you, you had a broken ankle. Like, what the fuck did you do? How the hell did you survive? And, Carl walked in and he's like, hey, stop it with the fucking trash mouth. And she looked at him and stopped at him and was like, shut up. I wasn't talking to him. I didn't say my sister's little boyfriend, did I? And you looked at her and you're like, don't talk that way to Carl. And she's like, what? Your little boyfriend? And you looked at her and you were like, he's not my boyfriend. Just don't talk to him that way. And she's like, and then she's like, oh, what are you gonna do? And then like kind of like chuckles. And you've had enough of her shit, and you punch her across the face. Oh, what the fuck, listener? The fuck is wrong with me? The fuck is wrong with you? You just fucking punched me. Okay. Just don't shoot me. Please. Why shouldn't you? Because I can be helpful. I know where they are. Okay, I know you can tell when I'm lying. But that wasn't a lie. Oh, listener, you know me too well. Oh, alright. You did live with me for like most of my life. Till I ran away after you killed Mom and Phil shot himself. Good times, right? It's almost like when you stabbed Mom in the head. You felt no emotion. You sat there and you stabbed her once, and then you stabbed her twice, and you kept going until, well, until the blade broke. To think I was only, what, you were 11? I would have been 9. Fuck, listener. What has happened to you? Miss the old listener. Miss the sibling I used to have. Might as well just kill me now or I'll end up doing it myself. Just spare me an extra bullet. You pull the gun away from her head. As you do, you look at her face as her face goes from happiness to sadness, like she was disappointed you didn't shoot. You turned around and walked back upstairs, Carl following shortly after you. While walking up, Carl looked at the corner of the room, seeing a knife there. He didn't think much of it since, well, your sister looked like she could barely get up onto her feet. She hadn't eaten for about a week, so she was pretty weak. Carl walked back upstairs. A few hours later, he went down there to check to see if she was okay. When you did, you found her body on the opposite side of the room. Her throat was slit. You knew what she did. You didn't know why, but she did. You didn't cry, and it was almost like what happened with your mom. And then inside you were sad. You grabbed the knife that was in her hands and plunged it through her head. You called Carl, and Carl came downstairs realizing what happened. And you both managed to drag her and dump her outside of the walls without anyone noticing. You walked back in. Carl grabbed you and looked you in the eyes. It wasn't your fault, listener. She did that to herself. Don't feel bad. Please. I've seen you hurt multiple times. I can't see you hurt again. I love you, listener. I love you so, so much. I don't know what I'd do if I lost you. It's not your fault. Please don't think it is. I'm gonna go check on Judith. Just sit on the couch and make yourself comfortable. You walk over to the couch and sit down, kind of just rethinking all that had happened in your head. You see Carl come down with Judith, and he sits Judith down on the couch or he sits down next to you and sits Judith next to him. He wraps his arm around your shoulder and pulls you onto him. He holds you tight, just there, basically trying to comfort you. You finally realize this feeling that's been bubbling up ever since you've met him. The feeling was love. Something you haven't felt this strong in a few years. The last feeling of love you remember is the last goodbye your mom said to you. You hugged him back as you started to sob into his shoulder. In a quiet, I love you came out of your breaking, trembling voice. The small I love you too came back from him as he pulled you away from his shoulder and grabbed your cheek and pulled you into a kiss. The salty tears still running down your face seemed to dry up quickly after that. He'd healed you somehow. You didn't know, but he had healed you some way, somehow. You didn't know what you would do without him. You were glad you were able to be with him. A few years passed by as the days started to get nearer. There was a big fight with some zombies. You were trying to find Carl in the middle of it, but you ended up losing him. He found him again, covered in blood that you really hoped wasn't his. You followed Rick outside as was trying to do something. When you walked back in, you saw a note on the table. It had her name on it, and it said from Carl. The note read, "Listener, I love you. I love you so much, there's nothing that can express how much I love you. But you need to understand that I did this. I got bit back there. Got bit right on the stomach. I don't want to take my chances, and I don't want to turn you or Dad into anything. Or anyone. I love you, listener, but by the time you read this, I'll be dead. I would have shot myself in those woods. I love you, and I hope you can move on without me." After reading it, you hear a loud bang come from the woods. Tears start to fall from your eyes as you run down the trail to find Carl standing there, or laying there, gun in hand. Hat was hanging on a tree as he had left it as a burial ground for himself. Rick and everyone else followed shortly after and saw this scene. Rick fell to his knees crying. Everyone else was basically speechless. You walked over to him, taking his face into your hands one last time. The last goodbye, the last I love you heard from him was in a note. Rick and everyone left shortly after, but you decided to stay. You sat there, crying, looking at his now dead body laying there in front of you. only this apocalypse hadn't have happened, maybe you guys would have been able to live happily together. But no, every great thing must come to an end, he thought. He walked over to the tree that he hung his hat on and grabbed it. He started to walk back over to the house, and he left the hat on the doorstep, knocked on the door, and ran back to where Carl was. He didn't know what happened after that day, for you weren't around to live it. Just like in the comic you guys read years ago. They both ended up dying in the end. You and Carl both ended up dying in the end. You thought that maybe, just maybe, you could live in the afterlife with him. But I guess fate just lives up to the rest of that story, huh? Let's just say you were able to see him one last time. And that one last time would be forever. No more fear, no more trembling, no more hiding. No more death. You and him were able to live it out together. And forever. That's gonna be the end. I can't remember if I said I wouldn't kill off Carl at the beginning, but if I did, I'm sorry. Okay, I changed my mind because I got a really good idea. But you guys died too, so you and Carl could be together in the afterlife. Safe thing to say, if you guys really want to know, yes, listener was able to see their mom, their stepdad, and their sister again. Because they had died too. And yes, they did live happily ever after, if you guys really, really want me to say that. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I wasn't really I didn't have any other ideas for the series, so I just decided to cut it off here. But I will make the Sally series, the Sally Face series, sometime here soon, hopefully. I am crossing my fingers and praying to my rocks. Yes, I pray to rocks, don't judge me, but I am praying to my rocks that I will have the energy to do it tomorrow. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please do not come at me for the ending, okay? I'm sorry. I get it. That's not how he died. And that's not what happened. I haven't gotten to that part yet. I've been, really busy, so I haven't been able to watch The Walking Dead. But I know that's not how he dies. But I decided to make it, that, he dies for dramatic effect. Because I can. So I'm sorry if that did make any of you guys mad. I really hope it didn't. I'm just adding my own dramatic flair to this. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry that my voice still sounds weird again. I'm just getting over this fucking sickness. It was like a stomach bug going through my whole family. Oh my god. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys maybe tomorrow. And I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your morning, day, or night. Bye-bye.